So very good afternoon, and I want to show and explain you what we understand under the title Innovation in the context of our company. And Nokia Siemens Networks, the name says already, Nokia and Siemens, there are two big companies involved, and we are doing infrastructure for carrier service providers. So we not cater for the typical mass market. We don't sell the nice mobile phones, that's Nokia's business, and we don't sell the fridges and the cookers and so on, that's Siemens business. We are doing business for carrier service providers. And innovation for us is that we provide solutions for mobile broadband, which is GSM in this case a little bit, but especially 3G and LTE, the new technology LTE coming up now in more and more networks across the world, and that we provide state-of-the-art. And this is beyond products. So our innovation drive goes beyond products. It's also innovation regarding solutions. And many people tend to forget that innovation of processes. So our slogan is always bring ideas into reality. And here we go. You can go straight away to the last slide because that's the crucial one. So what you can go on to the last one.
Next slide.
Next one, please.
Slide,
I think we have a slight technical problem here, but let me just continue. On this one, what you see now, that's what we are basically doing. Everything between two mobile phones left out, that's our business. And mobile broadband is our mission. And we do have 70,000 employees in our company, 10,000 of those here in India, and 3,000, here we go, yeah. 3,000 of those are in research and development here in Bangalore. You see here, this is our setup. We have a global setup. We have 28 centers across the world, and we operate on an equal partner basis. So there's no main center and extended bench. All those centers are on the same footing. And that's why innovation is so important, that every center is bringing out their maximum on innovation. And what do we do to accelerate innovation, to actually foster it and accelerate it? And there are four main points which we have identified. First one is quite logical, having the right people on board. So you must have people who know what is going on. You have to train them, you have to select them. That goes from the top management in the R&D center down to the smallest coder. The second one is you have to have the people fully enabled. That is partially training, also bringing in people, sending them out into other countries. The people must be the same quality, the same capability across the world. That's what we try to do as well. The third one, I think very important, give the people top responsibilities. So if you do this, and we have experienced this one, this subcontractor mode, that we have a center and then you give the small bits to India, those people always feel we are only contributing a little bit, it's not so interesting. But we here in India managed to give them top responsibilities. We develop solutions for the entire world on the GSM, on the 3G and LTE technology. And those guys are doing crucial components which will be deployed worldwide. So those guys, I can tell you, they're very excited about it. And we have managers here, like you are also, they have teams across the world. They lead the teams, Indians leading the teams, and that's where we wanted to come. And last but not least, you have to foster innovation. That means you have to really drive your guys to be innovative, and that they also help them to bring those innovations to reality. For instance, filing an innovation report means a lot of paperwork. Some of the coders say, well, if I say now I have some good ideas, then I have to fill out 500 forms to make something out of it. So we made up our own team doing this one for them, that they are relieved of those things. And what we have managed actually from 2010 to 2011 is we have increased innovation by 62%. And we measured this by qualified submissions, which can end up in patents. And this, I think, is the right track. We are not yet entirely there where we want to be, but we are driving on this one. And what innovation for us means as well is, this is one of our master things, LTE Advanced. Today, if you have a mobile phone or an iPad or whatever, you download 2, 3, 4 megabits per second data. We're working on something 1.4 gigabit, 1,400 times more capable than today. And this needs that guys are fully innovative, that they come up with the solutions how we can enable this one. So that's what I understand as innovation and driving innovation.
Thank you, Gwynter. So now we'll have Sakar give his perspective. You know, he's got a very interesting background. He's been both in operations as well as now in HR. So, you know, kind of cross the line over.
So, thanks, Andy. So, Gunta talked about briefly about getting the right people on board. I want to start with that. It all starts with effective leadership. The leader sets the tone for the innovation in an organization. Then you work towards getting the right people on board, which again starts from acquiring the right talent. As Andy said, it's not about getting people only with the engineering capability. We should also look at people who have an inquisitive mind when we are hiring our talent in. Once that talent is in, it requires to trigger that innovation, tickle that innovation within them. Give them job rotation. Once they have done a job in a specific area for 18 to 24 months, move them in a different area. Give them market rotation. Let them work in different markets because there are different customers in different markets. Make them work in different geographies. Make them participate in industry forums so that they get a perspective of what is it that the customer wants. Do we have everything in our products, or can we add something? Is it something that we know that the customer would like, but the customer doesn't know? Can we add those things into our product? So that's primarily on getting the right talent on board and priming that talent. The second thing, which is related to talent, is the ecosystem that you have in the organization readiness towards innovation. Have a structured program towards rewarding the right behavior that supports and encourages innovation. Celebrate small wins. Celebrate everything that you can call innovative in the company. Obviously, the extent of celebration would depend upon the business impact, but you never know, a small idea triggers a big idea. Make heroes out of people who have done innovation for you so that they become role models for the rest of the organization. People aspire to be like them. And while we are celebrating all these victories, we also need to acknowledge rightly and maybe sometimes reward failures. People who have made an honest attempt to innovate, but for some reason, it was a noble idea, but could not see the light of the day. It's very important to acknowledge and recognize those people as well. I have heard a lot of people say that contests are an end-to-end innovation. I differ from them. We need to look for forums wherein we can get employees together to think. Innovation contest is one such forum. An idea wall is another. Show videos around innovation. One of our VPs in our business development team, he kicked off a program called Friday Matinee. 15 minutes every Friday morning, 10 o'clock, he put up a big plasma screen and he would just show innovative videos. And then he put a whiteboard next to it. And then a few weeks later, he started challenging his employees saying that, start putting your ideas on this whiteboard. Now it's a standard practice. Every Friday after the session, the board is full. Take innovation time out. Get employees together for time to think. You never know where a good idea comes from. And there is no set formula for innovation, or there's no set formula for triggering innovation in a company. If there was one, then we would have been flooded with innovative companies. Every company figures out their own secret sauce. They keep trying, and that is what they can do the best. And it's very difficult to say that this is the cause and this is the effect. You cannot point out on 2 or 3 initiatives and say that this is what triggered innovation in my organization. There would always be a correlation, but there will also be a compounding effect there. And I'll end by saying that it starts with the leadership, once again. The leader sets the tone for the organization. Some leaders lead innovation by personal example. Whenever we talk about Apple, it's Steve Jobs. Right? Nobody talks about the product, but the first name that comes is Steve Jobs. And there are some leaders who remain in the background, but they ingrain the DNA of innovation in the organization. When we talk about Google, nobody talks about Larry Page immediately, but he's been there behind it. So once again, effective leadership, get the right talent in, and get an ecosystem ready for innovation.
Thank you, Sakar. So finally, we have Pamela. We've got some interesting thoughts on the ecosystem as well, because she's representing probably one of the largest professional bodies in the world, IEEE.
Hi. So this has been a pretty interesting experience. I've been in these sessions, and these forums really give you a sense of what's happening in this ecosystem, right? It's just amazing. 300,000 people working in R&D, and the maturity. I think if we look back, maybe the early starts of R&D centers here in the mid 80s, and then really picked up in the mid 90s, right? From the mid 90s onwards. And so we are what, 20, 25 years into the system now. And IEEE, I don't know how many of you know, but we celebrated our 125th year very recently, a couple of years back. So what was IEEE doing for 125 years, right? Fostering electrical and electronics engineers across the globe, across the West actually, right? The America really, okay? So there was a role that IEEE was playing, very fundamental to making innovation the way we've seen it happen in the West, the way it's contributing to our lives today happen. And interestingly today, India is the #2 country in terms of number of members of IEEE. IEEE is a 400,000 member organization, right? And India is #2 in terms of membership. Isn't that amazing? So IEEE definitely realizes that here is an ecosystem that needs to be serviced. And if you see what Shekhar and Gunther have been mentioning, the role that IEEE can play here is enabling the know-how, helping you build global technical eminence, right? So obviously we saw that yes, the market is happening, the market will happen, but the global role that this ecosystem is playing is huge. Maybe every product out there, we were talking about 4G LTE, has an India touch into it, right? Has India inside, or made in, some touched by India, we can say, right? So how do we make these people, there's this whole TED lecture by Nirmalya Kumar, right? On invisible innovation and the contribution of India to it. So definitely this ecosystem is ripe today, where the role that IEEE played has been playing for 125 years is something that we need to start thinking. We need a catalyst like that to make all this innovation happen. And it can play two roles. One is, as you are fostering innovation within your organization, as you are building technical leaders, you need to encourage them to play globally. And there is a whole fabric and infrastructure. If you stop by the booth, you will know how easy it is to participate in the working groups of the standards bodies today. The standards bodies are, the standards working groups are global in nature. And I have personally been participating in some of these working groups lately. Sri Chandra, whom you'll find on the booth, he has been the chairperson of the AHDL, the analog HDL group. He was chairing that entire effort from Delhi, okay, from Noida, and very effectively. So it provides a forum and a fabric to really engage your technical and encourage them. There are 900 standards from IEEE. There are 500 active working groups on different areas of technology. And some of the areas which we are engaging with, like smart grid, interoperability on the smart grid, the communications and the IT part associated with smart grid. Cloud interoperability and application portability for cloud computing, okay? And across the board, in the software engineering area, there are a lot of, in storage technologies, there are working groups. So encouraging your technical people to even, and you don't even need to be a Standards Association member to sign in, to become to participate in the working group. You may not be able to vote. You may not be able to vote on but at least participating, being aware, and it's such a healthy forum. I think another great example that has happened right now is there was these INDIC standards on how to use the keypad of the mobile phones for Indian languages. So they were trying to find a home to create a standard around it. They came to the standards interest group which we created under the IEEE umbrella, and we formed a whole working group around it. There are 115 people who dial into this working group from across India, right? And this standard is on its way towards acceptance. Okay, so not only does I mean, looking at accelerating talent development within your organizations, I think the Standards Association, just engage with it, find out, it's right there on your doorstep. We have an office now, we have an IEEE office, and the first person that we hired after hiring the director was a dedicated person for standards. So we recognize that there is a huge potential in the professional technical community here, and we want to enable them to participate in standards development and to take advantage of all this know-how and collateral that is available. And there are zillions of examples that we can give you, but please give that some thought, and that's the thought I would leave you with.
Sure, okay. Now comes the fun part. I'm going to move down there and motivate all of you guys to ask questions to our panel. So let me start with folks at the back, because they seem to be closest to the lunch, and I think we need to, motivate them to ask some questions here. So any questions from here to the panel? So something on, how your companies are working on innovation and how you feel, networking with the ecosystem is, driving innovation. So anything? Nobody here? So what about this side? Any questions, folks? Okay, in the meanwhile, let me ask a question to the panelists. So how difficult or how easy is it to convince HQ to start innovation initiatives in India, or tell them that, hey, we're moving from just engineering to taking on more of product innovation roles as well? So Saakar, do you want to?
So it is tough, and I'm sure anybody in this room who has worked on the global centers would agree with me. And see, it's a chicken and egg story. As Pamela said, we are about 25 years in this industry, maybe lesser than that. So we don't have enough success stories to associate with us. And when you go and talk to the headquarters, they say that, do we have the talent to do it? And the point that we would try to make to the headquarters is that the talent would say, do you have the work to bring me in? So it's not very easy, but the headquarters across the world are waking up with the fact that India is just not a cost arbitrage market. India is a talent market, and they have tried to put global leaders in place as business unit heads, those who have worked with India in the past, and companies like IBM and Cisco are great examples for that. Sure. So it is beginning to happen. It was, I would say, it was tough maybe 5 years ago. It's relenting now, and we have seen innovation come out of India.
I would like to reiterate that point, right? It's a matter of showing the right leader. You have the right leader, and believe me, leadership does not really mean years of experience, as was pointed out in one of the panels. You can have an entry-level guy, and his enthusiasm, his passion, less than 5 years experience, and he could be leading a global project, and it happens all the time, right? It's a matter of, or the other thing is bringing the teams together or bringing cross collaboration. One of the unique, so with my IEEE hat, I will say that I see the opportunity of companies coming together and collaborating. But within a company, if I put my IBM hat on, I see that in one building, we are representing business units and technology groups, which it would take, which are spread across US and Europe and maybe 20, 30 different R&D centers in one building and in critical mass. The opportunity that provides for filling those gray spaces, for providing integration of technologies is phenomenal. Seeing that opportunity, bringing these people together, just creates a unique value proposition from here.
Let me connect to Pamela's saying that you need good leaders, respected leaders. And we do have some in our technology center. They are respected all over our NSN internal R&D scenery. And we, for instance, do the development, research and development of LTE transport here. It's a very crucial element for this new LTE technology. It's done here, it's led here by one very capable guy, and he has teams all over the world, but he calls the shots. So it's possible. And we actually, since we already are working somehow on all centers are equal, and we distribute the workload a little bit, there's nobody who should be disadvantaged and advantaged. So we take out our 2-3 slots and contribute to our global solution network. And India, actually, I have to say, in the last 2 years I was here, is very dynamic. It's maybe the most dynamic one of all the centers we have, and we have to utilize this one. This diversity is a key for our success.
So my question is to Gunther. To accelerate innovation, you said give people top responsibility. It's a chicken and egg story because constantly it's about proving credibility and getting top responsibility. So how much of it is for decision makers to take risk about where they invest in their business? And that's beyond market and people, right? It's about the perception, the thought process of how much risk can I take and put my neck out and stick my neck out for investing this top responsibility in a geography which is not physically proximate to me.
Yeah,
Right.
risk.
So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, risk taking, of course, is a hot issue, and we encourage our people to go unconventional ways. I mean, it should not be in a way that it's negligent or whatever, but we encourage them go new ways. They even can, let's say, take team members beside the main task and let them experiment on something. So risk taking is encouraged, but it has its limits, of course. But you have to let the guys, you cannot put them into a strict frame and say you only do this one because that is no risk. You have to really tell them, look, that's your main task, but whatever comes out left and right, take your time, you get enough time and enough also funding partially for that. Try something out, maybe 1 in 10 issues, 9 fail, 1 is a success, but this one usually makes up for the 9 which failed. So we do it, but again, maybe not do enough. You know, we should encourage our people to take even more risk, but then again, you know, companies are very careful on that one.
I think I would like to address the question a little bit differently. I think what we are talking about is development is becoming truly globally integrated, right? I mean, in IBM we call it the globally integrated enterprise. And enabling that global integration in a way that people are really connecting. The technical leaders across different geographies are coming together, connecting, understanding and appreciating the values that are coming to the table. That will break away some of these barriers, right, about perceptions and risk. You find the connect and people are willing to take the risk, right? As you said, the energy, the dynamism, which is a USP we have. But once you, and maybe that's the training we need to give from HR to our guys on how to communicate over conference call. I trust me, if you go and ask for it, ask for yourself or your team members getting invited into any meeting, any call, it'll happen today. But do our guys, when they're sitting, one of the things that I get back from my peers or the key decisions, okay, so we've invited all these guys, but they don't speak up, right? They don't make their presence felt, right? So I think it's a two-way street. We need to build skills, we need to consciously build skills, and maybe the Gen Y is coming with those skills. It's the Gen X and the boomers which have the problem here.
No, it is.
Okay.
We do
Maybe
see that some of the younger talent is
Yeah.
actually far more forthcoming than the
Right,
senior one.
right,
And
right.
I would say what also helps is we exchange people. You know, we bring our Indian experts to the centers in US, in Europe and so on, and we bring the Europeans in. That helps also a lot because, let's say, many of the young Indians are, due to cultural constraints, a little bit shy. We have to break this one away. They should speak their mind. They should go ahead and tell us what they think, and they should try. You know?
Right.
And that's a very important mission we have in our center.
Right, absolutely.
Just a small request to the audience, please introduce yourself before asking the question, so that will be nice for us to know. Yeah.
I have a question to Sarkar. I'm Kamesh Rastogi from Oracle. You touched upon a point of about job rotation. So, do you think that is it mandatory or prerequisite for an innovation? And do you think can it be any downside of that? The reason being why I'm thinking about this question is a person who is well dealt into a particular stream and doing his job, and now he's
There's one more
a
question
so-called
in front of you,
expert.
we're getting back.
So taking out him or her from that particular line of business to putting in some other line of business, do you think that it might risk to the output of the entire system, and how do you synchronize or define with reference to the entire ecosystem?
So two things to it. One is that we should do only job rotation for those people who are willing to get rotated. It should not be forced on people. And if those individuals who are looking for some career actualization, I'll tell you, an inquisitive mind would always want to do different things. They get bored with with one thing if you make them keep doing that for a very long time. So where job rotation helps is that it gives them a broader perspective. And when it gives them a broader perspective, the productivity that comes out of that individual is far more than the expertise loss that you see for a shorter duration. Does that answer your question?
If you have a question.
Hi, I'm Sujit from Infotech Enterprises, and many of you talked about getting the right people from an innovation perspective. Now, how do you know that the talent that you are hiring is the right guy from an innovation perspective? Essentially, when you hire a talent, you look at what is my what I'm currently doing, and how that guy is fit for that that work that we are currently executing. Because if we see the examples, the innovation or the ideas, the people from which it comes out, they aren't the best of the team. They aren't the people who are top of the top notch, who are getting recognized on an everyday basis. And therefore, when you hire, how do you know that you are hiring the right guy?
Yeah,
So I
that's
guess this is the dilemma between the guys who do the work that they're meant to do every day and
Yeah.
good at that, vis-a-vis the people who are the so-called the innovators who need to be recruited.
It's very difficult, and I want to distinguish here between the freshers and the guys we hire after some work experience. For the freshers, it's a simple answer: you don't know. You hire them according to the first impression, and then you test them a year or a year and a half. And within this period, you can see whether this guy, has the potential to develop or not. For the experienced guys, you can see a little bit on his track record, and if you research a little bit, and HR is doing this one very often, what is his track record? What has he done before? Does he have any successes, publications, whatever? Is he recognized in the community? Then you can find out if if he's really a talent who leaves the company because he doesn't see that he can utilize his potential, or is he not a talent, just a mainstream guy? So there you can research, and I would say from, let's say 10 of such guys we hired, plus the research, you can say with 8 you make a good hit. 2 again are not what it takes. So 100% you never can say. That's my experience, or our experience we have made.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that piece. See, my expertise on the job for which I'm being hired is the base. It's a given. On top of it, we should look at ways in which we can, during our discussion, and interview process is a short-lived process, but during that discussion, can we find out if a person has an inquisitive bent of mind? Does a person have lateral thinking in him or her? And for that, we should have some interviews which are done by people who do not actually belong to the team which is hiring that individual. Get people from a different group to hire that individual, because they would not have a bias, they would not have a vested interest in actually picking that person.
Hi, my name is Mahesh. I'm from Infotech. We have touched upon a couple of points. One, I think now we talked about the hiring process, just now what we discussed, and empowering, that's what one of the panel member told about. But there's also other point which we discussed about is the skill gap and the skills. So my question is towards that, in terms of how, or what are the innovative ways how we are really thinking in terms of competency development, which was not covered till now. So what are maybe a couple of your suggestions in terms of what you are doing in terms of increasing the competencies, especially in the high skill areas.
Well, I would like to reiterate my point that the IEEE framework provides a very rich set of resources to skill your people in the high technology areas and to reach out to global experts. These global, we've had I think two visits from the Corporate Advisory Board and from the Standards Association Board of Governors, and these guys are experts in their areas. If you look at our working group panels, the people who are driving the standards, they're more than willing to come here and give specialized training anywhere and at their own cost. I mean, it's not a big cost issue either, because through the framework that IEEE provides for various kinds of tours and lectures and talks and and these are all volunteers who are here to share knowledge, to encourage knowledge. So you can tap into a set of huge global experts, and there's a lot of the quality of collaboration or online learning and participation remotely into various forums. The infrastructure provided by IEEE is also phenomenal. So just try to tap into it and experience it. You will find that it's very useful and not very expensive.
Your thoughts on entrepreneurial thinking. My name is Vivek, I'm from Dell. Entrepreneurial thinking sometime back was buzzword, a lot of excitement, but it kind of died its natural death. But is that still something that you guys think about in your organization? So a business within a business. So people are encouraged to think from a business. Entrepreneur, yes.
Yeah, in teams, I think it's necessary that the people also think a little bit, what I'm doing here, does it help? Does it, and going further, a developer usually has not so much connection with what customers want, but he should think very much in his team, is this something which we need? And he should liaise with our product managers plus our customer teams, that this link is being connected, and that he goes in this way and says, okay, what I'm doing here, that's not only a hobby and we have to throw it away, but this is something which could be a success and hit the market. So we encourage this one down to the smallest coder, that whether he had exposure or not before to any kind of sales drive, that he thinks, is this useful? And it's very much necessary, and we also foster this one. And it takes a little bit of time, especially for the young guys, to get this kind of thinking. We do have, let's say, a program that our team leaders are trained, that they look out for such things and test our guys. So this is in our company.
So based on our research, it is very much alive. The short answer is yes. And there are companies that are using it very well, and in fact, getting a lot more mileage from their HQ and taking on increased product ownership. And all started off as entrepreneurial projects from the India Center.
Yeah, I would like to just add one point to that. So in IBM, there's innovation that matters is one of our core values. Innovation, the culture in the organization is such that innovation is at the center of everything, right? And the way we are seeing it happen in the global context is we are being encouraged to understand locally and innovate locally. So whether it is our innovation jams or wherever, there's counts on how many ideas came from which geography, and there is encouragement. So there are formal structures, but a lot of it is about encouraging the informal structure, the informal networks to be built there, because a lot of innovation happens in the informal channels. And in this company, I mean, more than what I've experienced anywhere else, the emphasis on networking and getting together informally, and a lot of what I've been beginning to hear is local innovation. Think locally and see what are the things here. I mean, even things like how we are doing engaging with the universities. You can do that in more innovative ways, right? And Zinnov has been recognizing some of the things we've been doing, and how you offer learning programs. Okay, you can innovate. There's a very interesting initiative happening on using gaming technologies for learning. Okay, Even in the non-traditional area, non-core areas, there is innovation is being encouraged in a combination of formal and informal mechanisms. So to really create a culture which we need to recognize that IT and all aspects of IT is all about innovation. To survive, you have to encourage creativity, you have to encourage innovation, and you have to just build your organization around it.
Hi, my name is Soumya and I'm coming from Travelocity.com. My question rather than opinion around fostering innovation is, especially in the reverse engineering teams like us based out of India, who are not close to the business, it is always a challenge, especially when it is an e-commerce system, something, the service that you are providing off of an e-commerce site is not the team which has touched and felt it, like say a car rental program, which somebody wouldn't have hired a car, wouldn't know what happens actually at the center where the car hire is happening. So I do participate in a lot of these activities in my company, and my argument has been, hey, we really don't have a good orientation program, when we onboard new employees, how do we get them to have that experience of somebody, who is closer to the headquarters, who's actually had that experience. So what is, in your thought, we could do better, or, we've already done that, if you could share with this group, we can take back some experience.
So I'll take that. See, one thing is very important. An engineer needs to have the knowledge of the actual customer ground situation. Many companies, when there's no company today which has enough cash to make everybody travel. And when there is a budget crunch, people cut travel. They should realize that there is a value that travel brings with it. And once again, the productivity, the innovation that an engineer will bring about after the travel offsets the cost that the travel is incurred. So travel is a must. There is no second way to travel.
And what I also say, and I'm not the traditional R&D guy, I come from sales, that's why I see both sides. You have to get the end user and R&D together somehow. And by any means, whether it's travel, whether inviting an end user to your lab, but this is crucial. Otherwise, you develop something which doesn't hit the market, or which is a little bit off what actually is wanted by the community. So this is crucial, and any company which is failing to recognize this one will in the end fail to really be successful.
It's like getting back to the original definitions of innovation. It's not innovation until you do something for the market. So just doing engineering is engineering. It's like it's invention and stuff like that. But somehow that connect has to be made. So there might be innovative ways of doing that sitting here, but that's a tricky one. But the obvious thing, as Saakar pointed out, is to get the engineers closer to the market.
I think somewhere if you can break this barrier is, yes, ideal is that you need to be there with the customer, but the fact of the matter is that 300,000 R&D is not developing products for this market. It's a global market, right? I mean, look at the semicon industry. How often does the chip designer really get to know where his thing is? I mean, he gets that information from somewhere, through metrics, through parameters, through whatever, right? So I think if you look at that pyramid of innovation in the TED lecture on visible versus invisible innovation, there are different levels of innovation. Let's be realistic, right? By just defining productivity metrics. So let's define metrics at different levels, or parameters at different levels, and build the hierarchy which goes up to the product and the customer, and innovate at different stages, whatever is realistic in our context. And I think what is more important is to make your teams feel that they are contributing to make the difference to that customer, to see how they fit into that link. Some work, in the semiconductor group here, we have guys who are doing some fairly innovative work in the 10 nanometer and the 15 nanometer space. They are far away from the fab, but the work that they are doing is fundamental and recognized globally, sitting right here, right? They've made some fundamental changes, and they're getting, and the data is coming, you know, proliferating through many steps for them to see the difference of the FinFET that they have, some change that in some, so one of those 84 steps of semiconductor processing, they've gone and made some proposals that how those steps should be changed, and then it's made a huge difference to the actual performance of the device, right? It takes a, so innovation is at, and again I would go back to IEEE. The recognition that you can get in the conferences here, the awards that your people for their innovation, and how they can engage with the global ecosystem to understand that they are actually innovating globally. Take advantage of that. Maybe that's what we are ripe for today. And when the market develops here, then it will be a different story.
So I guess that brings us to the end of this panel discussion, and I think we've kept a promise in terms of the time, I guess. So, so I'd like to thank the panelists for taking their time to be here with us to share their thoughts and expertise, and also to all of you for engaging with the panel and asking some really interesting questions. So I'm sure that you might have a lot more questions and thoughts, and you can have that over lunch and the other networking sessions that follow. Thanks a lot, and see you in the afternoon session.